Hello, Scope here, welcoming you to Mega the Micro's spoiler-free review of Ender Lilies' Quietus of the Nights. Now, if my full-length reviews put games under a microscope, these spoiler-free companion pieces are more a magnifying glass. We're not going to deep dive each micrometric per se, instead I'm going to give you a more metric level opinion on whether this game is right for you. With that in mind, let's get into it. If story, aka plot, characters, and dialogue, is essential to you in a video game, you'll probably walk away from Ender Lilies with a vague sense of disappointment. This is a game that never asked the narrative to do more than add atmosphere, and if you're even mildly well versed in dark fantasy, I doubt anything in Ender Lilies will surprise you. If I had to describe the plot in 3 words, I'd call it Soulsborne Goes Anime. And by that I mean there's an intentionally obscure storyline told through cryptic non sequiturs, and everyone is very sad, in a stoic sense. Despite aiming for tragic poetry, the characters of Ender Lilies come across as wooden. The protagonist is completely Link-like, never once complaining or questioning, almost autonomous even. And while sporting some memorable designs, nobody here really progresses on an emotional level or has any true depth. But hey, it's a 2D platformer, what'd you expect? Now, Ender Lilies is a Metroidvania, which is a portmanteau of the Metroid and Castlevania franchises. For the uninitiated, Metroidvanias typically feature large, interconnected world maps and emphasize exploration, though access to certain segments of these maps is often limited by various obstacles that may only be overcome through gear gaining, the acquisition of special items or abilities. To the lower patience gamers out there, this concept may strike you as grindy, and to be fair, gear gaining does necessitate a good bit of backtracking. But in between these more monotonous moments are a number of invigorating boss battles that should make any Souls vet sweat. Ender Lilies boasts a fast-twitch, pattern-specific combat system that demands focus but rewards experimentation. By the end of my 12-hour playthrough, not bad for a $25 game, I had well over 20 attack skills at my disposal, of which 6 may be equipped at any time. For me, this was enough to keep things feeling fresh, but some critics have bemoaned the game's purported lack of enemy variety. A bigger concern may be the map design, however, which some players have argued feels less like exploring an intricate, interconnected maze than Hollow Knight, and more like clearing out bland, isolated boxes with no real overall cohesion. But even if it's the latter, at least you'll have a beautiful time doing it, because when it comes to style, Ender Lilies puts most of its contemporaries to shame. The game's gothic fairy tale aesthetic jumps from serene strangeness to hellish nightmare with confidence. Really, it says something when those dissatisfied with the game's story, gameplay, or content metrics just dismiss Ender Lilies as an art simulator. And the music, the music. Composed by Millie, a classical Japanese indie group with an eclectic streak, Ender Lilies' OST features wonderful range and impressive musicianship, though it's liable to disappear on you during critical moments. So, all things considered, Ender Lilies' Quietus of the Nights has a lot to offer. Story is not one of them, admittedly, having earned a disappointing 2.7 out of 5, but the gameplay and content metrics performed well, both receiving 3.8s. Stylistically, Ender Lilies received a 3.3 out of 5 for me, which may surprise given my gushing over the game's incredible art style and impressive OST. But I had some very real concerns with sound design, which I'll unpack in the full-length review. Speaking of, expect to see that and more Ender Lilies content for the next few weeks, after which I'll return to my life as a lonely turnip farmer. Bye!